The WWDC this year was an event to remember, that's for sure. We've got so many new things, a new 15-inch MacBook Air, OS updates, new Mac Pro, Mac Studio, and of course, Vision Pro. But after I finished watching the event, I found myself with more questions than answers. And upon digging a little more, I found quite a few things that Apple decided to hide for later. So let's take a closer look at everything we didn't get at WWDC 2023. Let's kick things off with the new 15-inch MacBook Air. The laptop on paper seems like a strange deal. On one hand, it is a better value for your money, since it comes with an unbent M2 chip with 8 CPU cores and 10 GPU cores. It also comes with the upgraded sound system, boosting the number of speakers from 4 to 6. On top of that, the charger in the box is dual-port 35 watts at no extra charge, or fast 70-watt charger also at no extra charge. And it does all that while still costing a tiny bit more than the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air would have cost with upgrades. Because with the lowered price, the $1,099 MacBook Air 13-inch needs at least $100 extra to get the same unbent M2 chip and then extra $20 for the charger. But on the other hand, the similarities with the 13-inch model don't end there. The M2 chip also means 8 gigs of unified memory as standard and 256 gigs of SSD, and here is what I'm very curious about. How slow will the SSD be in this 15-inch Mac, and how hot will it get? Did Apple do any homework and put a fast SSD inside, or did they re-engineer the cooling solution to make the laptop overheat less? Apple hasn't disclosed anything about these things, and until the first units start arriving to people, we won't be able to get our answers. Okay, the next part of the keynote I have questions about is the new iOS 17. iOS 17 on one hand is not a terrible update, a few small new features, apparently some performance improvements, and that's all. To me, the most interesting are the things we didn't get. For example, sideloading. Due to EU regulations, we were expecting iOS 17 to become the first ever iOS version that would have allowed sideloading apps not from the App Store. But that didn't happen. Luckily. Did Apple find a way around the regulations, or they managed to convince the EU of the absurdity of this rule, or will it just be silently added by the end of 2023? Only time will tell. Another thing we didn't get is the Control Center redesign. We were really expecting something new, the ability to freely move elements around, add interactive widgets for quick access, or just change the shape of elements, but instead, we got nothing. Same goes for the lock screen. We wanted to get more customization there, but instead, we got customizable contact cards. I'm not even gonna mention lock-in apps, which we also didn't get. Overall, iOS 17 turned out to be a pretty disappointing update. No redesign, almost no really useful features. What do you think about this update? From iOS back to Macs, namely to the Mac Pro. With Mac Studio, the situation is pretty simple. What about the SSD configuration in base models? How slow will it be? Will the slower SSD with M2 Ultra perform better than M1 Ultra and fast SSD? Only time will tell. Why is it so big despite being so empty? Apple says that this huge monstrosity is able to accept PCI expansion add-ons like sound cards or video I/O cards, but does it really have to be that huge still? Look at the image from the event. Look how empty the board is. It's basically blank. This to me looks absolutely ridiculous. Huge empty box that costs a fortune, that on paper supports expansion cards, but in reality will surely support only a select number of expansion add-ons. So here is the question. Why does it exist? Is it the filler upgrade needed only by huge corporations like Disney for movie production, or is it targeted at professionals like YouTubers? Because for the latter, even the standard Mac Studio will be enough. Apple, give us answers or bury it. From that, let's take a quick detour and talk about the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community packed with thousands of classes for those who love learning and want to unleash their creativity while acquiring new skills. Whether you are into marketing, business analytics, productivity, web development, freelancing, or more, you will find your classes that perfectly align with your goals and interests. With Skillshare, you can not only find yourself, but also learn how to design a career that fits fits you. And no one is forcing you to start big. You can start with simpler courses and gradually work your way up to something more challenging in your own tempo. I, for example, love Skillshare's curated lists of classes. Right now, I'm actively watching classes from a list about diversifying portfolio and earning passive income. This list of classes includes classes from Alicia Souza, Mimi Chow, and Tracy Wallace. And Skillshare is ad-free, so you can stay in the zone while you're exploring new skills. New premium classes launched each week, so there's always something new to discover. The entire catalog is now available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. So invest in yourself and your personal growth. The first 1,000 people to use the link will get a 1-month free trial. So consider joining Skillshare using the link in the description below. And now let's get back to the video. Next up, macOS. macOS Sonoma is also quite boring. The widgets were stars of the show, but that's it. Basically. Initially, we were expecting a deeper integration of iOS and iPadOS apps, at least that's what Gurman claimed, but we didn't get that. Yet, overall, the OS we got lines up with Gurman's words of it being a small update. WatchOS to me seems rather boring to absolutely nothing to be excited about. New watch faces, widgets, and so on. We got the widgets we were expecting to get, a few new watch faces, and that's it. Of course, the rumors of getting the new look of the app view were a little far-fetched, but at least we got the app redesign. Most apps look different now. We expected nothing from watchOS 10, and we got exactly that. Nothing. And the iPadOS, what took you so long? A year after iPhones got the ability to customize the lock screen, iPads are finally catching up interactive widgets. iOS didn't get them, iPad exclusive. Okay, multiple timers are cool. Good joke, Craig. But where's the calculator? I can't believe that after all these years, Apple still can't figure out the design. We were at least expecting some refinement to the Stage Manager, which now is more of a gimmick rather than a useful feature. Leakers also have suggested that the iPadOS 17 would get external monitor webcam support, audio output source settings, resizable dock, and so on. But again, we got nothing. Apple didn't even add iPad user profiles. Why not? That would have been a game changer for families that use one iPad for everyone. Come on, that's not a very technically advanced feature. But overall, the result is the same, modest update without a single spark of fun. The Vision Pro by far leaves the biggest number of questions. Let's go over them one by one. The biggest issue I need clarification about is the impact on eyesight and ways to adapt the lenses for people with eyesight problems. Apple claims that we're going to be able to stick special lenses on top of internal lenses to be able to use the headset in the most natural way possible, and I get that. Simple lenses are usually the solution for people with short and long-sightedness. Just stick a simple lens and you're golden. But what about people with astigmatism, like me? Astigmatism is not just a blurry image. It can cause double vision, issues with night vision, and many more. Glasses for astigmatism are much more advanced in the lens technology and various coatings, and I want to know how Apple is planning to adapt to that. According to studies, approximately 12 million people over 40 have vision impairments. 6.8% of kids have vision disorders of various severity, and in total, around 93 million people in the US are at high risk for serious vision loss. And every third person with eyesight problems has astigmatism. If Apple doesn't find a way to cater to people with astigmatism and more severe visual impairments, they could lose a huge chunk of the market. But catering for these needs is one thing. Long-term effect on eyesight is something totally different. According to researchers, VR headsets frequently cause eye strain, discomfort, eye fatigue, and can even lead to blurred vision. VR is a new thing, not researched well enough, and the long-term effects are yet to be seen. Phones and computers, for example, have existed long enough, and it's well documented that staring at screens up close can lead to myopia or eye elongation. This is a very serious issue, and it remains unknown how two super high-res, super bright displays an inch away from your eye will affect your vision. Apple obviously did consult with doctors, but it would be nice to get more health-related documents to prove that this headset is not more harmful than others. The next question we didn't get the answer to is the weight and comfort of wearing this device. It appears to be made out of aluminum and glass. Both materials aren't exactly light, and reviewers who were able to test the device point out the weight. So I'm wondering whether Apple is going to introduce some changes to the materials to make the device lighter. The next thing I'm gonna need some clarification on is the sheer abundance of cameras on this thing, and apparently the absence of any indication that the person is recording the video or taking photos. Of course, the outer display lights up, but darkening film can easily solve that issue and open a ton of possibilities for secret recordings and invasion of privacy. Again, it would have been nice to know how Apple is gonna tackle this serious issue. Overall, I'd say that the WWDC this year was fun and weird at the same time. On one hand, we got a lot of stuff, but on the other, you're right, Craig, we do live in the age of wonders. If you want to know more about Macs and other Apple devices, sub to the channel. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you in the next one.